What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so Zion Williamson was new on the Pelicans. All right, Zion made his long-anticipated season debut last night against the San Antonio Spurs, and I mean the atmosphere in the arena was electric. You could just sense that something special was about to happen. But I have to be honest with you, the first three quarters were somewhat anticlimactic. Um, Zion didn't do too much, I believe, in the first quarter. He scored a bucket. He had 5 points by halftime, but that's to be expected for a guy that hadn't played any meaningful basketball since the preseason back in mid-October. Here we are in January, so uh, that's to be expected. He looks a little bit out of shape. Still looks out of shape. I was commenting to somebody that he looks more like Shaq lumbering up and down the court, than anything. But he will get in shape, and I'll get into that in a moment. Some things that bother me, but he more than made up for it in the fourth quarter. Man, he had a goddamn game one Michael Jordan versus Portland Trailblazers type explosion from downtown. This is a guy that most people will tell you that his weakness is that he couldn't shoot. He can't shoot very well, or at least by NBA standards. Well, last night he looked like one of the best shooters in NBA history from downtown, from beyond the arc. He scored 17 consecutive points, and he brought the New Orleans Pelicans, who were getting decidedly beaten by the San Antonio Spurs, and put them actually ahead. But then, inexplicably, Alvin Gentry benched him, and the Pelicans went on to lose their lead and to lose the game by the final margin of 4 points. So, from what I understand, supposedly the medical staff told Gentry to bench him. But my thing is this: at the end of the day, if you look at the way Zion Williamson was scoring, he was doing it more off jump shots. He wasn't driving to the basket, risking contact. I don't believe. Matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think any of his baskets were dunks. He had a couple of putbacks, but most of them were threes. So he was playing a little bit more not to get hurt, if anything. You know what I'm saying? And he was knocking down his jumper. At that point in the game, I think you keep him in there for a couple more minutes. Fuck the medical staff. Because at the end of the day, if I'm the New Orleans Pelicans, I'm looking at our seeding. I'm looking at our record, right? Coming into the game, I think the Pelicans were 17-26, right? Now, that's quite a ways off from 8 seed. But if you look at the big picture, the Spurs are one of the teams that you're contending with to try to get into that 8th spot. Now that you got Zion Williamson, you don't know. Like, this is a game that you really need to win. Maybe people don't look at shit the same way I do, but there's always a possibility, man. I remember one year out of all teams, I think it was like 2008, out of all teams in the history of the NBA, inexplicably the Houston Rockets that year, I think this was after McGrady was injured. I don't think that McGrady was playing at the time for the Rockets. I might be wrong, but I don't think he was playing during that stretch. I think it was like that's when I remember Aaron Brooks being the point guard there. But anyway, the point is, the Houston Rockets won a 22-game winning streak. Like all the great teams that had great winning streaks, who would have thought that Rockets team would have a greater stretch of victories than any of the Bulls teams, any of those Kobe Shaq Lakers or Showtime teams from the 80s, the Celtics. Out of all teams, that team was balling. Sorry about that. I had to get a phone call. I'm pretty sure you heard that ringtone. YouTube. Yeah, I like YouTube, man. I think they're one of the greatest goddamn bands of all time. But anyway, getting back to the point of the video, though. Yeah, man, like the Pelicans got to do, they should have kept him in, man. I understand that, freak injuries happen, man, but should have kept him in. You know, it isn't like he tweaked anything, you know what I'm saying, which will give you pause for concern or alarm. And like I said, the way he was scoring, it was more with jumpers and shit like that. So, yeah, I think you should have kept him in, man. But whatever. But he scored 22 points in 17 minutes. I think he had like 7 rebounds, maybe, or 8 rebounds and 4 assists. So I'm going to tell you something, man. It's one game. Um, but let me say this. Zion is what, 19 years old? And I've been hearing a lot of negative shit out there about Zion that really gets me. Like, okay, the guy needs to get in basketball shape. I get it. Okay? He needs to trim down a little bit. But this fat shaming that I'm seeing with people, man, I really want to strangulate each and every one of you until your oxygen supply is totally cut off and you basically fucking pass away. Um, I'm saying that figuratively, but in my mind, it's like real shit because I'm just annoyed at people who basically their idea of physical activity is jerking off to fucking Stormy Daniels, porn or whatever. Like that's their idea of physical activity. But you got a nerve to criticize an athlete. Yeah, he could lose some weight. I'm looking at it more for long term. Okay, because all that being heavier, it tends to shorten your career. You know what I'm saying? Just tends to shorten it because of the stress on your joints and shit. But the guy has had major knee surgery. And after you have surgery, you're going to get out of shape from basketball shit. You're just going to get out of shape. Whenever you have some type of serious injury or a surgery, you're going to get out of shape. That's kind of how your body gets back. That's kind of like what happens when you heal. Okay? Um, a lot of athletes, after the season, they get out of shape. Now, I'm not saying like gain 50, 60 pounds, but they might gain 10 pounds, maybe 15. But their body's recuperating from the stress of the season. But they still make sure that they keep their body at an ideal weight and condition. They just may not be in basketball shape. And then they get into basketball shape during the beginning of the season. All right? So, it's like this. Zion Williamson is going to be fine. He's going to be fine. And I hope that he has a very long and productive career. People forget that Julius Erving, the ABA version of Julius Erving, wore knee pads, right? He wore knee pads because he had bad knees. But if you notice, as Julius Erving got older, he stopped wearing knee pads. Usually it's the other way around. Usually, like, well, man, usually people's knees get worse. Well, Julius Erving was able to treat the issue with his knees and it was able to have a productive career because, for one thing, when he transitioned to the NBA, he had a team with a lot of help around him. Okay, so he didn't have to do as much, and his minutes were restricted to an extent. If you look at his minutes per game when he was with the Sixers, he played maybe like 32, 33, 34 minutes. He didn't play like the 37, 38, 39, maybe 40 minutes he played in the ABA. And the treatments that he undertook really helped his knee condition to the point where he no longer needed knee pads. So these athletes, we're talking 40 something years ago. So these athletes today, man, he's going to be fine. All right, he's going to be fine. And I'm gonna tell you something. I probably was wrong about this guy, man. I thought that he would be effective. I just wasn't sure if he'd be a superstar talent. Maybe he's gonna prove me wrong. I tell you one thing: if he plays like that on a consistent basis, The NBA is in good fucking hands. Okay? The NBA will be in great hands. Okay, after the LeBron James era. Alright? You're gonna have Zion, you're gonna have Giannis, you're gonna have Luka, you know, and that's gonna be something special. Alright? It's gonna be something special. Until the media starts cocksucking another guy to the point we start hating them. Don't do this to Zion, ESPN, Fox Sports. Please don't make us start hating this guy. But that's it, though, man. I think Zion Williamson had a spectacular debut for the Pelicans. I think the future for the Pelicans is bright. But one thing I don't agree with, though, is Shannon Sharp saying that, Zion Williamson and Lonzo Ball are going to be the new Gary Payton and Sean Kemp. Now, so I get the Sean Kemp Zion Williamson comparison. In fact, I think Zion could be better than Sean Kemp. But come on, man, don't disrespect Gary Payton comparing Lonzo Ball. Please don't disrespect Gary Payton. Okay, Gary Payton worked hard as a basketball player. Gary Payton, when he came to the NBA, could not shoot a lick. He wasn't known for being a scorer. Gary Payton worked to become an all-star. He worked to become the 1995-96 Defensive Player of the Year. He worked like hell to be the best point guard in Seattle Supersonics / Thunder history. Okay, he worked like hell to be one of the great players of his generation. Don't disrespect that man by comparing him to Lonzo. And I understand Lonzo's been playing better as of late for the most part, but no. He's nothing like Gary Payton. The game, personality, uh, work ethic, he's nothing like fucking Gary Payton. Stop it, horse face.